And today's episode of Icons of Influence looks at a figure probably more polarising than almost any other, Donald J. Trump. He is someone whose name, brand, business and political power have all intertwined. He shows how influence can be built, lost, defended and weaponised. We'll examine his business empire, his brand strategy, his political ascent, the controversies, and what lessons you might draw in both strategy and caution. Donald Trump was born into real estate. His father, Fred Trump, built housing developments in New York and around. Trump got early exposure to property, finance, development. He took over his father's business and expanded into more ambitious real estate projects, skyscrapers, luxury real estate, commercial and residential towers. He aimed big with high visibility buildings and prime locations. Brand has always been central to Trump's business strategy. He licensed his name to hotels, condos, resorts, golf courses. Even when he wasn't the operator, many properties carried the Trump name. That name was meant to signal luxury, success, even excess, and it caught public imagination. Books like The Art of the Deal helped cement his image as a deal maker. Reality TV, especially The Apprentice, further amplified his persona. "You're fired" became shorthand for tough leadership and no-nonsense business. However, many of the ventures under the Trump brand have had mixed outcomes. Some real estate successes, others bankruptcies, restructuring and loss. Properties in Atlantic City, casinos, mid-priced condos, some failed or defaulted. But in many of those cases, the Trump name survived, licensing continued, or the projects were sold. The brand often outlived the business that carried it. Through all this, Trump's business identity has leaned on visibility, name value, promotion and perception. He understands that in real estate and luxury, what people believe you are can matter as much as what you build. Trump's move into politics didn't separate him from business. The two merged. He used his media presence, his celebrity, and his branding skills to enter the political arena. His platforms, his shows, his name carried weight. When he became president, questions arose over conflicts of interest, ethics, and the overlap between personal brand and public duty. His businesses often featured in the media coverage of his political roles. Resorts and golf courses hosted political events. Licensing deals and promotional materials referenced or benefited from the political spotlight. He has been criticised for promoting properties or discussing them publicly in official settings. Even abroad, licensing deals and foreign investors have engaged with Trump Organization properties, raising concerns about how global business ties intersect with political influence. He has licensed his name for hotels, for properties internationally. He has media ventures that benefit from attention or political alignment. A major part of his influence is his willingness to use controversy, provocative statements, polarising positions, not just as political tools, but as ways to stay visible, to dominate news cycles, to draw attention. Whether through speeches, social media, interviews, rallies, Trump often uses media exposure as fuel for his brand and political platform. But there are risks. There are lawsuits, legal investigations, regulatory scrutiny, and public backlash. Some business lines have lost value or been hurt by reputational damage, and balancing political leadership with business empire creates tension, whether legally, ethically, or morally. It's impossible to talk about Donald Trump's influence without discussing controversies. There are allegations of sexual misconduct. There are lawsuits. There's been legal scrutiny over his handling of government documents, financial disclosures and taxes. The Access Hollywood tape, the Stormy Daniels hush money cases, defamation suits, investigations, all have shaped how people see him. Also, his political polarisation, appealing strongly to certain segments and alienating others. His rhetoric about immigration, about media, about opponents, has often stoked division. Critics argue he spreads misinformation. Supporters argue he speaks plainly, breaking constraints. In business, his track record is mixed. Some ventures succeed, others fail. Some projects overpromise or underdeliver. Some are highly leveraged with debt or collapse under financial pressure. Yet he appears to accept that risk. His strategy seems to assume that visibility and controversy are acceptable trade-offs. From Donald Trump's rise and sustained influence, a number of lessons emerge, both strategic and cautionary. First, the power of brand and name. Building a memorable, consistent brand image can carry surplus value that survives business failures. Licensing, as Trump has done, shows that owning a name and reputation can generate revenue even when direct ownership is compromised. Second, visibility counts. Trump leveraged media, books, TV, social media to stay in the public eye. Controversy can damage, but it also amplifies. If you are willing to be bold, to court risk, people talk about you. That translates to influence. Third, risk management or risk tolerance is central. Some of Trump's business ventures are deeply risky. Others succeeded because he was willing to take those risks. But risks come with consequences, not just financial, but legal, reputational. Fourth, integrating different areas of influence. Business, politics, media can increase power, but increases scrutiny. Public figures who mix those fields must be ready for ethical questions, for conflicts of interest, for people watching closely. Fifth, consistency of message helps. Supporters often trust Trump because he appears consistent, whether they agree with him or not, especially in combative, anti-establishment terms. That trust is part of what sustains his influence. Finally, lessons about failure. Some ventures fail, some lawsuits drag on, some promises go unfulfilled. But the effect often depends not just on failure, but on how you respond. Trump tends to respond with defiance. That becomes part of his brand. That's instructive. Reputation is partly about narrative, about owning the story even when things go wrong. Donald Trump is not a model everyone will want to follow, and many of his tactics are deeply polarising or controversial. But whether one admires or dislikes him, his influence is a case study in how business, brand, media, and politics can become interwoven. He shows what power looks like when combined with boldness, risk, visibility, and also what the costs are. If you've listened this far, consider what parts of your influence are baked into your brand. How much visibility are you willing to pay for? What risks are you willing to accept? If this episode gave you clarity or provoked reflection, please subscribe, leave a review, share with someone who wants to understand influence in the modern age. I'm Hally, and this was Icons of Influence. Until next time, build your brand with eyes open, speak with purpose, influence with awareness.